in for the pre-session, and hopefully some of the folks who are new to the programs were able to introduce themselves and get to know each other. Good morning, and well, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. Welcome back for the second installment of Assistance Persistence, the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program's annual national training for 2022, also known as Small Business Environmental Assistance Thursdays in May. For those who don't know me, I'm Chris Lynch, and I'm the director of the Nevada Business Environmental Program. We're located in the College of Business at the University of Nevada, Reno, and we're affiliated with the Nevada Small Business Development Center, or SBDC program. So I'm looking forward to another very interesting day, and through the hard work of our planning committee, I think we've got a great lineup of speakers for you today. Again, we're celebrating 30 years of our programs this year. Looking back, I see that things have really changed quite a lot since the Clean Air Act amendments of 1990, Section 507, and then the SB EAP program guidelines that came out over the next 2 years, and the standing up of programs in 1992. Just to name a few of the developments that I've seen, our programs have gone multimedia to offer assistance beyond just air quality, or at least a lot of our programs have. Our programs have also responded to the multitude of niche EPs that have come out affecting small businesses and area sources. And our programs have also developed some really strong partnerships with trade associations, business advocacy groups, and offices like the U.S. Small Business Administration's Office of Advocacy to help promote environmental regulatory awareness and also give a voice to small business concerns when it comes to new regulations. So, we hope that you're really enjoying the new format that we're testing out, doing this every Thursday of the month. If you'll recall, each Thursday does have a different theme. Hopefully you were able to join us last week when we talked about operations and the nuts and bolts of running a small business environmental assistance program. If you weren't able to join us, check out the recordings of the programs, which are now posted to the National SBEAP website. If you go to the training page, the agenda, right next to the title for each agenda session, you'll see a recording link so that you can view the recordings from last week if you happen to miss it, or if you want to see something again. So today's theme is going to be hot topics and emerging issues, so we can think about what changes we might see to our programs and the assistance that we provide over the next few years. So in terms of our agenda today, we've got some, we're really lucky. We've got some great speakers from our partners at US EPA, and we've also got some great speakers from our own ranks to talk with us about some of the emerging issues that are out there right now, and some of the priorities of the current administration. Just to do a little quick recap on the logistics for how the meeting will go. Again, don't forget, all participants, your microphones are muted and your cameras have been turned off by the administrator for the Zoom meeting. Questions and answer sessions are planned at the end of each speaker and each session that we're going to be holding. We encourage you to use the chat box to ask your questions, put your questions in the chat. If you've got a particularly long or complicated question, you could always do the raise hand feature, but we're going to be monitoring, or it's more easy to monitor the chat. So that's the best place to put in your questions. There will be a couple of polls today, opportunity for you to be interactive and do some clicking. So keep your eyes out for those opportunities. And then don't forget, I know that we're all pretty familiar with Zoom by this point, but you can adjust your views with that vertical that vertical frame bar so that you could see the presentation larger and the speaker, so you can adjust to what you feel most comfortable viewing. I do encourage you to change it at the top, just so that you're viewing the active speaker, so that instead of the gallery, that'll be a little bit easier for you to see who's talking at each time. So, we had a pre-session this morning for newcomers. We'll have pre-sessions for the next 2 Thursdays as well, just so that you can log in early and make sure that you're not having any technical difficulties, and also our administrators with K-State can get you logged in. So, I know that they're busy admitting people from the waiting room right now. So don't forget, we'll also have a short break each day. Today, our break will be just a little bit after 2 o'clock Eastern time. So what I'd like to do next is move to our next speaker. I'm sure that the next 30 years are going to look different in terms of our programs. There's a lot of changes to priorities of the administration, priorities, just economic priorities. We've had recessions, we've had the pandemic. Small business concerns do change, and we want to be responsive to those changes. But I think right now we've got an opportunity to think about what are going to be the priority issues over these next few years at our resource partners at US EPA? What are going to be the small business initiatives of the Biden administration? So to get us started, I'm thrilled that we have Alejandra Nunez with us today. Ale is the Deputy Assistant Administrator for Mobile Sources in US EPA's Office of Air and Radiation. Prior to her appointment, she served as a senior attorney with the Sierra Club's environmental law program, where she focused on litigation and regulatory advocacy for federal greenhouse gas issues and fuel economy standards for light and heavy duty vehicles. She has also worked at the World Bank and was in private practice at Morrison and Foerster. Ale, welcome, and please take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is actually Rhonda Wright from the Office of Air Quality Planning and Standards. And I'm not sure if she has joined the call just yet. She is wrapping up another meeting, but she is on her way. But while we are waiting, I just want to first start off and just thank you all for allowing us to be a part of this agenda. And Ale probably will speak to this towards as part of her presentation. But I know many of you have been asking questions about the Oaqps Small Business Assistance Program and the manual that we are working on. And I just want to assure you that we are still having internal briefings and meetings internally to discuss many of the questions that you have raised and regions have raised regarding the program and how we can better assist small businesses on our air regulatory actions. And so we're not quite there yet, but we are definitely in discussions, having discussions. And I just want to make sure that I give you that brief update. I know I'm on the agenda on the 26th, so I'm hoping I can share more by then. But if not, we still have many updates coming out of OAQPS that we think you will be interested in, and we'll be ready to share on that week. We also have on the call my manager, Tina Endo. She's the manager of the Community and Tribal Programs Group. And I would like to kind of turn it over to her to see if she has anything that she want to share while we're waiting on Ale. And you might have to unmute her mic, Tina Endo.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda, and thanks for the folks there. My camera has not been very reliable today, so apologies that I can't see you all. But I just wanted to say it's so great to see this event taking place again this year, and I love this format of this types of afternoons instead of a long 2 or 3 days. So hopefully that works well for folks. And I just wanted to really thank Rhonda for all that she's been doing to help keep the small business program moving forward for OAQPS. And I know that, she certainly appreciates all the support that you have provided across the last few years, really. I want to just echo what Rhonda noted, that, we are working hard to make sure that we have a small business manual and program in place that reflects the appropriate goals and needs for the office. And just really wanted to, again, thank you all for, for everything that you're doing to help support small business work. Rhonda, I don't know if you would like to pick back up, or if our host for the day want to pick back up, but I think that's it on this end. And I do want to also say just welcome to our Division Director, Anna Wood, who is on the line as well. So Anna, thank you for joining us. And Anna is the Director for the Outreach and Information Division.
Okay, yes. Anna Wood, I would like to give you an opportunity if you have a few words to say while we still waiting on Ale to join.
Yes, hi everybody, and welcome. And I'm sorry I can't see you. I'm on my iPhone through Zoom through the call-in number, but I am going to be listening in today. And again, just want to thank each and every one of you. As you know, we've been working over the last couple of years to really make sure that, given all the regulations that come out of Oaqps in particular for air, that we were really providing a good resource for all of you and for small businesses. So I just wanted to echo Rhonda's sentiments that we are making good progress. And sometimes the progress takes a little bit longer than we like, but we are very excited to be partnering with you all and, supporting this effort as it relates to the work that Oaqps does in our rulemakings. And also just want to thank Tina, who's still relatively new to her job as the new group leader for this endeavor, for her efforts as well. And just really appreciate both her efforts and particularly Rhonda's over the last year and a half or so. And I can't wait to see where we go in the future. So I'm delighted to be here and listening in, and hope you will feel free to ask questions along the way if you have them that we in Oaqps can respond to at any rate. So welcome everybody, and good to be here.
Thank you, Anna. So we're still waiting on Ale. She is currently on a call. She is communicating with me, and she is on the way. She's going to get here as soon as she can. But Chris, I don't know if you want to proceed with something else until she arrives. I will turn it over to you.
Well, I guess while we have you, Rhonda, and Tina and Anna all on the line at the same time, maybe if there are any questions that folks have that for the three of you while we wait for Ale.
I am here. I am very sorry. I was in a Teams meeting. I know you understand what I mean. And then I realized we are meeting in Zoom. So my deepest apologies, but I'm delighted to be here. But Christopher, you should finish your question to Rhonda.
Okay, well, I don't want to delay your speaking opportunity, but if anybody has a burning question that they want to ask in the chat for Rhonda, Tina, or Anna, please go ahead. Nancy, could you let us know if any questions come in?
You bet, no questions.
Okay, all right, well, I don't want to delay getting you started, Ale, so I'm going to turn it over to you. We've already done an introduction for you, so I'll let you go ahead and give your remarks.
So let's get straight to business then. And once again, my apologies. I had two different meetings. So let me actually talk. I will not introduce myself. Thank you for doing that for me. I just really want to express my gratitude for inviting me to join this training with you all today. And just to say, like, as a framing matter, that OER and even Oaqps is very much focused on meaningful engagement pre-proposal with small business stakeholders on many of our rulemakings. Every time that we see that there might be an impact to them, we're exploring mechanisms for area engagement and in our efforts to build relationships with small businesses. So let me talk to you just very, very briefly about the administrator, about this administration's priorities, but I really want to focus on is highlighting some of the rules that are coming out of the Office of Air Regulation.
Ale,
Yes.
may I interrupt you?
Of course.
For some reason, your audio is great right now, but as soon as you started presenting, your audio broke up, and There were several people who have chatted that they cannot understand you. So I'm
Excellent.
not sure what the difference is.
I don't know.
It is good right now. Your audio is fine right now.
All right, so let me try not to move and see.
There we go.
Okay, well, thank you very much for letting me know, Rhonda. So I was just saying that OAR, the Office of Air and Radiation, including Oaqps, is very much focused on meaningful engagement pre-proposal with small business stakeholders on many of our rulemakings. Every time we identify early on that there might be an impact on or a connection with small businesses, we are constantly exploring mechanisms for early engagement, and we want to continue our efforts to build relationships with small businesses. Just to check, Rhonda, everybody can hear me well now? Before
You're
I
doing
really get
great.
started.
Yes, your
Excellent.
audio is perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I will not move. So let me start with just framing what are the key priorities of President Biden's administration to give you a sense of what are key issues that drive how we're doing our work, including prioritizing small businesses. As you know, during his first days in office, President Biden issued a series of executive orders that set a clear direction for EPA and also for other agencies across the administration to address the climate crisis, and in our case, to protect public health and really ensure the integration of environmental justice in all our actions. We were directed to use the best science to protect the environment and public health, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, ensure access to clean air, and bolster resilience to the impacts of climate change. On his first day in office, which seems so long ago now, President Biden issued an executive order that directed us to consider rulemaking proposals over the near term on some of our largest sources of both climate and health harming pollution. That included vehicles, oil and gas production, and mercury and air toxic standards for power plants. We are taking those directives very seriously, following the science and the law. As we tackle these priorities, we're mindful that the president has elevated environmental justice as a priority that is equal to the priorities of clean air and climate change mitigation. Addressing sources of pollution is critical for protecting overburdened communities. I also want to note that climate change and environmental justice are both issues where the administration has called for a whole of government approach. So EPA's work is complemented by initiatives and investments that are being made by other agencies on the federal family and across the government. Engaging broadly and meaningfully with a diverse array of stakeholders is essential for us. The administrator has emphasized the importance of engaging with all affected parties, states, tribes, industry, including small businesses, environmental justice communities, NGOs. So this is an integral part of our planning as we move forward on our activities. So let me really focus on what I really want to share with you today, which is some of the current regulatory actions that we're working on in the Office of Air and Radiation that will need stakeholder input from you, from small businesses. So first, in oil and natural gas, we are continuing our work on a rulemaking to reduce emissions of methane and other harmful pollution from both new and existing oil and gas operations nationwide. We issued a proposal in November 2021 that would leverage innovative technologies as well as proven and cost-effective solutions that major oil and gas producing states and many leading companies are already using now to minimize or eliminate this harmful pollution. EPA's proposal is a crucial step in fighting climate change and protecting public health in areas of oil and gas development, especially in communities located near oil and gas facilities that, as we know, too often suffer disproportionately from pollution and poor air quality. Shortly after we issued the proposal, we held 3 half-day trainings to provide background information, an overview of the proposal, stakeholder panel discussions, and information on how to effectively engage in the regulatory process. Those trainings were open to the public. However, the targeted audiences were communities with EJ concerns, tribes, and small business stakeholders. So many of you may have attended one of these sessions. I want to say special thanks to Donovan Greenwood, who participated in the planning for those events. So thank you very much. In that process, we received nearly 500,000 written comments, which we are reviewing now as we develop a supplemental proposal to further strengthen the standards that we proposed last year. We expect to issue that supplemental proposal later this year. This proposal will be open for public review and comments, and we anticipate having a virtual public hearing. So that's it for oil and gas. Let me talk about another very important rule that I want to bring to your attention. It's called the Air Emissions Reporting Requirements Rule. It's also called AERR, sorry. So AERR requires state and local agencies and some tribes to submit emissions data to the EPA. Last month, EPA invited qualified small businesses, governments, and nonprofit organizations to participate as small entity representatives for a small business advocacy review panel for a potential proposed rulemaking to revise requirements in the AERR rule. That rule requires the state and local agencies to collect and submit emissions data on criteria pollutants to EPA. Many states also voluntarily report air toxics emissions data. The agency uses the reported data along with other data sources that are primarily for air toxics to build the national emissions inventory, a very important work for us. The AERR was last updated and published on February 19, 2015. In order to better support the data needs of the agency and the states, EPA is considering how to improve the quality and completeness of the national emissions inventory in several ways. Many of these improvements could result in additional data collection from stationary sources. The Small Business Advocacy Review Panel will focus on EPA's development of the proposed revisions to the AERR. That proposal may add reporting requirements to gather data about hazardous air pollutants, emissions rate test results from facilities, emissions from facilities in Indian country that are not currently reporting emissions data, and emissions from small electricity generating units used to meet demand on high electricity usage days. So that's AERR. Let me now talk about many rules that we're working on as part of the Risk and Technology Review, or RTR program. So for the Clean Air Act RTR program, we are working on regulatory packages to address gaps in environmental protection and meet our Clean Air Act obligations. As you know, we have been busy reviewing our air toxic standards for key industries. In October of last year, we finalized amendments to our air toxic standards for flexible polyurethane foam fabrication and to our air toxic standards for refractory products manufacturing. In addition, the deadline for primary magnesium refining rule has been moved to May 2024 to allow time for information collection and emissions testing. We recently agreed to new deadlines to establish Mach standards for previously unregulated pollutants for 6 RTRs that were completed in 2020. Let me say which one these are. Lime manufacturing, rubber tire manufacturing, plywood and composite wood products, taconite iron ore mining, and miscellaneous coating manufacturing. The next step for us is now to propose and finalize regulatory actions to address missing standards. I also wanted to flag that we're also in the process of conducting the technology review for the PERC dry cleaning NISHAP. As a result of that review in December 2021, we propose to require all new and existing PCE dry-to-dry machines to be equipped with refrigerated condensers and carbon adsorbers as secondary controls. We are under a court order to issue a final rule by December of this year. In November, we proposed amendments to the air toxic standards for paint stripping and miscellaneous surface coating operations at area sources. As a reminder, area source rules affect sources that emit less than 10 tons per year of any HAP and less than 25 tons per year of any combination of HAPs. Following a technology review of the rule, EPA has proposed that there are no cost-effective developments that would further reduce air toxics. The agency did not propose amendments to existing emission standards based on the technology review. However, we did propose several clarifying updates, including simplifying the exemption process for sources that do not apply coatings containing target air toxics, acknowledging that emission standards apply at all times, including during periods of startup, shutdown, and malfunction, requiring electronic reporting, and other minor technical updates and clarifications. The comment period for the proposed rule closed on January 3rd, 2022, and the final rule will be issued prior to November 1st of this year. The last rule in this grouping that I'll touch on is the Ethylene Oxide Sterilizers Rule, or ETO. EPA is continuing our work to develop a proposed rule for ETO commercial sterilizers, which we expect to issue later this year. And we will be reaching out to communities in advance of that proposal, and we will keep you all posted as that outreach is scheduled. Now let me talk about major Mach 2 area source rules. On October 1st of 2020, we signed a final rule that we call Mm2a, or major Mach 2 area. That's our shorthand for the full name of the rule, which is reclassification of major sources as area sources under Section 112 of the Clean Air Act. So let's call it MM2A. The MM2A rule allows a major source of hazardous air pollutants or air toxics to reclassify to area source status at any time by limiting its emissions of and its potential to emit hazardous air pollutants to below the major source thresholds. The MM2A rule replaced a 1995 EPA policy that you probably knew as the once in, always in policy. The final MM2A rule became effective on January 19 of 2021. More recently, we identify the MM2A rule as an action that is being considered for review under an executive order that I mentioned President Biden issued the first day of his administration, Executive Order 13990. Under this review, as appropriate and consistent with Section 112 of the Clean Air Act, we will publish for notice and comment a proposed rulemaking suspending, revising, or rescinding the MM2A final rule. We're working on this review right now. Let me now talk about new additions of hazardous air pollutants, the listing of 1BP. You may remember hearing at earlier meetings about the chemical 1-bromopropane or 1BP, which is largely used in solvent degreasing, adhesives, furniture foam fabrication, and in other applications, including the aerospace industry. On December 22 of last year, we issued a final rule to add 1BP to the list of hazardous air pollutants under Section 112 of the Clean Air Act. That listing became effective on February 4th of this year. While we have previously removed substances from the list of hazardous air pollutants, this is the first time that we add a substance to the list of HAPs. If you have not seen it, we have a questions and answers document posted on the website for the listing. That document can help with questions about what is it that this listing means from a regulatory perspective. We are working on other regulatory actions. We have proposed revisions to new source performance standards, or NSPS, for 3 source categories: lead acid batteries, electric arc furnaces, and auto and light duty trucks. Right now, we're in the process of reviewing multiple other source category NSPS, including bulk gasoline terminals, surface coatings of business machines, secondary lead smelters, and synthetic organic chemical manufacturing industry. We plan to propose actions associated with these reviews later this year. Let me now talk about Oaqps Small Business Program. As you're aware, Oaqps is developing a strategic plan that will support a sustainable small business program within Oaqps. We've been having a lot of very exciting discussions, and we're still working through the internal briefings right now. The Small Business Environmental Assistance Programs will have a chance to weigh in once we release the strategic plan. We understand that this is taking some time. However, we want to make sure that we're carefully thinking through our efforts. In closing, I want to say that we will continue our outreach to the small business community. This is a very important priority and a key commitment for us. And that I would also like to thank Rhonda for all her hard work over the last several years in establishing the small business program for Oaqps. If you need any additional information on our small business program, she is your point of contact. So again, it's great to be here so that we can connect. Once again, my apologies for the delay. And I trust that we will have more opportunities to connect in the future. And this is just the first time that we meet. So I'll now turn it back over to Rhonda and Chris for questions.
Yes, thank you, Ale, for that, for your opening remarks. And there are some questions in the chat regarding the rules that you highlighted. So I would just let everyone know that we will provide you the list of rules that Ale presented today, and we'll share that at a later time. Are there any questions?
You can put your questions in the chat. I do have one question for Ale and you, Rhonda, and that's related to dry cleaners and perchloroethylene regulation. Will you also be working with the TSCA agency, the folks in TSCA, regarding some of their new and proposed risk mitigation regulation changes for perchloroethylene?
Rhonda, would you mind responding?
Sure. So the rule is in the dry cleaning rule. We are actually in the final stages of that rule. If you recall, I think it was last year or maybe the year prior, we did an extensive outreach with small businesses across the nation, understanding what states are using certain chemicals and how they're using these chemicals and how our rule could impact those small businesses. We since have proposed that rule and went through a comment period, and now we're actually finalizing that rule. What I can do though is take that question to see if there's going to be any further outreach that is needed, or if you need further outreach, then please reach out to me directly, and then I can work with the rule lead to see what we can get done between now and the final rule, the signature of the final rule.
That sounds good. I think the big concern is that under TSCA, they may be banning the use of perc in dry cleaning. So how does that crosswalk with what Oaqps is doing? And I think that is the big concern, just to make sure that the two EPA groups that are working with perc are in alignment for the regulations and for these small businesses.
Yeah, Rhonda, this is Tina. I'm happy to speak to that for just a little bit. So normally with our work groups, we have a very diverse set of participants, and I know that historically we've worked with TSCA to make sure that we're abreast of what's happening with their, I guess I'll say standards regarding just the chemical overall versus our dry cleaning regulation. What I think probably the key thing here is just for us to make sure that we do pass that along to the rule lead to make sure that they are in coordination. I know that that's been happening in the past, that as you are probably well aware, the consideration for PERC and that the PERC ban that they've been looking at under TSCA, that's been going on for quite a long time. So I can just say historically, I know that we were in connection and in communication, and certainly we'll pass that along to just make sure that our rule leads are aware of that and connected if they are not already connected.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, for flagging this for us. We'll make sure that we are coordinating, but as Tina said, there are many different people from many different offices in the working groups, but we will make sure we will pass this on.
That's great.
Ollie, I have a question for you. Just you kind of highlighted a number of activities that the office is undertaking right now. And I know that you're currently working on the strategy for working with our programs, but do you have any initial thoughts or suggestions for us how we could plug in to really help what's going on and some of the initiatives and moving some of those forward?
Thank you, Chris, for your question. As I mentioned, we've been having a lot of internal conversations and are still briefing the leadership, but we're very excited. We've been talking about this a lot. I wonder if Tina or Rhonda want to share some thoughts to help provide a bit more insight for Chris, but
Yes,
we have more to share more substantively. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ale. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we are having extensive internal discussions regarding the foundation of Oaqps Small Business Assistance Program. And there are a lot of, the states as well as the regions have raised a lot of concerns, or I won't even say concerns, but things that they would like for Oaqps to consider. And so we are really dissecting each of those suggestions and the comments that we receive and trying to come up with a way that will best support the small businesses, but still remaining within the realm of what Oaqps is allowed to do, what we are required to do according to the Clean Air Act. And because of that, it is taking some time, and we do apologize for that. But again, there are a lot of other offices that will be impacted by our decision. So we just want to make sure that we are briefing all the way through management, through Ale's office, as well as cross offices across the agency, to ensure that we're all on one accord before we take anything outside of the agency. So as Ale mentioned, we are still having those internal discussions. So I don't want to say anything prematurely until we've had an opportunity to speak with our senior management with all of our options that we're recommending.
I will just add to what Rhonda said. I assure you, Chris, that Rhonda's team, they are leaders in the agency as a whole, and they are thinking so carefully about all these issues. And we have been having a lot of discussions, very excited about it. Just we are in the process, but we will be following up and are very excited about this moving forward. It just takes a little bit of time. So bear with us, but we're working on it.
All right. Well, thank you. And that's understandable. I think, we just want to make sure that that the programs stand ready to work with you and help with the outreach and assistance to the small business community. We certainly see the small business community as very important.
Yes. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. And thank you, Ale. That was really a great update on things going on in the Office of Air and Radiation. So we appreciate your time and you being here with us today. And thanks also to Rhonda and Tina and Anna for being on the line with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.